speaking about Braun, that reminded me of, I mean, this is May 14, 2024, so draft still hasn't happened, but seeing Bronny at the combine, I saw his little stats. Like he had like a 40-inch vertical, smaller than I expected from what I heard. I mean, from what I did hear.
Yeah, he was listed at without shoes. He was listed at 6 foot 1.5 inches.
Yeah.
So yeah, it surprised me as well. I thought he was 6'3",
Yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah, but what do you think? What do you think about Bronny though? What are your thoughts?
So it's difficult. We were just talking about NBA social media. I think NBA social media is a very dark place because it's a bunch of idiots talking about sports.
Yeah.
But something like we were just talking about, some of it is hilarious. But for the most part, the takes are really bad. Like a lot of people think Bronny is just like popular just because of his dad, and obviously that helps. But like the explanation that I've seen that makes a lot of sense is like, no, he's not ready to be like a real NBA player right now. But he wouldn't have been he was either a 4-star or 5-star, I can't remember. He wouldn't have been that highly rated if he wasn't actually that good. Like the people who are making those ratings are putting their careers on the line to make those ratings. Like a lot of now this draft class is considered a very weak draft class, which I think is like a dangerous precedent because the last two times that in memory that there was a poor draft class, like the worst, really bad number 1 overall pick was Anthony Edwards.
Yeah,
like at this point that seems like an awful take.
Yeah.
And the worst draft class ever, which was I can't remember, it's like 2013 or something like that. Giannis and Gobert were in that draft class. So like just because there's not going to be another, more than likely there's not going to be another Victor Wembanyama or LeBron James in this draft class. That doesn't mean there's not going to be very, very good NBA players. There is a great NBA player in every single draft class. Yeah. So like, I say all that to say, I think for me, it would make the most sense for Bronny to do another year in college. He was very much on track to be a first-round draft pick going into college, but then the cardiac arrest that he went through, like he had to sit out for 5 months, and then he played in a very dysfunctional USC team. And I'm not like the best college analyst. I'm much more into the NBA these days. But the few games of Bronny that I did watch, he looked all right. I do think he could get drafted in the second round, and I think he could, do a little bit of probably like the Gary Payton II route, where like now I'm pretty sure he went undrafted, but like a long time in the like the end of the bench or G League kind of thing, and then eventually become a solid NBA player. I do think he can be a solid NBA player. Okay. We had this conversation actually last time I was on the podcast. I think the most important thing in the NBA these days is to be able to play both ways, and he's a 3-and-D wing, which is like one of the most important positions in the NBA. So one of the most important archetypes. So all that to say, it's no guarantee, but I do think like the people that are saying he's only going to get drafted because of his dad. Yeah. That's ridiculous. Like he did not have a good season for USC, but what is he supposed to do? He came off of a cardiac arrest. He didn't get to have any of his summer training, or he joined mid-season as a freshman. Like, absolutely, I think he should go back to college for another year, but I do think he could be. If he gets drafted, it's not BS. Is basically, the way I think about it.
Yeah, no, and I agree with you on that. Like people see the names, like it's LeBron James, technically, right? So they assume it's just all hype. I see people hating on him in the comments. Obviously, social media is a toxic place. I'm like, this guy's just trying to. Yeah, he's been blessed with resources and genetics, but he's trying to. He didn't have to be an NBA player,
right?
And he still had to be an NBA player. You have to be really good at playing basketball. Yeah, he's putting the work because he got invited to the combine, 4-star, I believe, at Sierra Canyon.
Yeah, he was in the McDonald's All-American game. I can't remember if he was a 4 or 5-star. I honestly can't remember.
4. I think so.
I honestly can't remember, but what you were just saying, like his real name is LeBron James Jr. I remember a meme from when he was in like middle school. Like he didn't want to wear 23 or 6. Do you remember this?
I saw this.
Yeah. So like he didn't want to wear number 23 or 6 because, quote, he didn't want to be like in his dad's shadow. And like the joke was like coming in at whatever number he is, number 0, LeBron James Jr. And like, who's that? Like,
I wonder who that is.
Yeah, obviously we know who that is. But speaking of LeBron's kids, I think Bryce has a chance to be pretty good as well. He's tall, but I haven't heard much about him as a college prospect. He's a couple years younger, but all that to say, I think Bronny benefits for a few reasons. Like he's definitely getting the benefit of the doubt because LeBron James is his dad. Yeah, it's a weaker draft class, and like on top of that, true or not, LeBron has said he wants to play with his son. He's walked that back a little bit, like saying I want to share the court with Bronny, not necessarily be on the same team. But I am positive somebody will draft him, probably mid to late second round, but still, yeah.
No, for sure. Like, and the point you said about weak draft class, I also thought about this independently. I've never spoken to anyone about it, so it's funny that you have the exact same opinion. It's like people say, oh, this is a weak draft class because, standout person like Zion or LeBron. But like that 2020 draft you mentioned, Anthony Edwards, multiple-time All-Star.
LaMelo Ball,
All-Star. Yeah. Who else? Tyrese Halliburton was in that draft?
Yep, he was in that class. I think Maxey might have been in that class too.
I think so. Yeah.
So, and he was taken in like the 21st pick or something like that. There were a bunch of good players in that draft class. Was Desmond Bain in that draft class? A bunch of really good players. And the talking point that I remember is because people pretty much always had a positive opinion of LaMelo Ball. Like people thought he was kind of soft, but people were definitely unsure about Anthony Edwards. And we're talking to you. We're talking a couple days after he put up 44 on like 60% shooting. The T-Wolves lost, and that series is very interesting. But he's been incredible in the playoffs so far. He's on track to be a very, very good player. It's crazy to think like. I'm 22. I turn 23 relatively soon. He's 22. It's crazy to think about. Like I think about this guy as like just an absolutely incredible athlete, and like he's more of a peer than than an idol. That's a whole separate conversation. But he is well on his way.
Yeah, it's crazy to see how young we are. Like I'm 21, and it's just like these guys are roughly my age. Playing NBA basketball, doing this, I'm like, damn, I'm just going to school. You're in class.
Yeah, it makes me feel a little bit like a failure